Hello and welcome to Money Mastery Kingdom Dominion. This is Marriage and Money Mastery with Raquel Carr, your money magnet, financial strategist, and
I'm Johnny Carr, and I'm married to the money magnet.
let's play a little music. Get us going in here today. Let's talk about love. All right, I'm so excited to be here today, and I want to welcome everyone. So now that we talked about setting the mood, setting the atmosphere, how are you this evening, morning, wherever you're coming in from? And if you are watching the replay, please type replay so that we can reach out to you and say hello. We just want to thank you for
Mhm.
Clubhouse for joining, Facebook, and everyone else that's coming in this good evening. And we're talking about today health is wealth. And as you know, that if you're not healthy, it definitely impacts your wealth. So there's just a lot of things, to talk about with that. And sometimes it's very difficult to have those tough conversations with your spouse, particularly if you see things or if you're noticing things that is going to impact the family long term. Because when you're not healthy, it's also, impacts your finances, but it also impacts the household, impacts how you move about the earth and how you move about with each other. And I'm just going to kind of open up to give my husband an opportunity to maybe kind of talk about, maybe one of the health scares that, we encountered recently.
Boy, I wonder what honey's talking about. I think certainly as a man, it's important for us, and being a leader of a men's ministry, I really think it's important for us to take care of our health. Well, what my wife was referencing is that I had my ankles were swollen. I mean, they were really swollen. Like she kept telling me, "You gonna go see about that?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. You know how we do. Nah, I'm good." And I mean, when I say they were swollen, they were really, really big. And I kept pushing it off, because it wasn't hurting nothing like that, right? And I had recently been in an accident where I broke both my wrists and I cracked both my kneecaps. Really never had a major accident before. And I just said, it's just fluid falling down. So, long story short, I ended up, I'm the adjutant for my pastor. So we were he was preaching in Philly. So I was sitting in Philly and I was sitting down in the car. We got out the car and I usually take my shoes off. So I went to put my shoes on and I couldn't get them on. My ankles were that swollen. I could not get my shoes on. And Bishop was kind of like, "Yo, what's up? You coming?" Like, I'm like, so I don't know what I did. I ended up getting my foot in there. But then I got down, I sat down. He was on the rostrum. I was sitting there. He looked at my ankles and he pointed. He was like, "You good?" Well, that was the second person. I said, "What? Let me go get this checked out." Long story short, I went to the doctor. Found out I was pre-diabetic. And she gave me this whole list of stuff. Basically, told me I was going to have a heart attack, a stroke, or within the next real soon if I didn't make some changes. And I ended up doing it. I ended up making changes. My BMI was I was grossly overweight, just a whole bunch of things. Make a long story short, I did everything she said. I started changing my diet. I'm no longer pre diabetic. My ankles are normal size. My ankles are normal size. And I am, I got to take medicine now, no doubt. But I'm better. I'm much better. I dropped 50 pounds, and I've been able to maintain that 50-pound loss. I'm eating much, much better, much, much healthier, watching what I do. And I think the question she asked me was, "Do you want to see your family?" And I think that did it for me. Because if you know me, that's all about family with me. Yes, I want to see my family. I want to keep seeing my family. So my wife was, she actually, when I first told my wife, she was really upset. She was upset with me. Like, "Yo, you're supposed to be here forever," that really messed with me. So, yeah, that was a scare. So,
Yeah, I think one of the issues with having the conversation around when you see your spouse, because there's health is wealth, right? And just to be healthy is wealth. That is, you cannot put a dollar amount on having healthy living, meaning you being able to go where you want, do what you want. And if the only thing that's holding you back maybe is funds, you can always make funds, but when you only get one body, you only get one body, and if you don't take care of the one body you have, there's no replacement bodies. Like sometimes you can get a replacement part, but those parts don't necessarily, it's not an easy, go to the mechanic and they hook you up with a new kidney, a new heart, a new lung. There's a whole process you have to go through that you might not even qualify for. So ensuring that you stay in the most optimal health, I would say honestly, health is almost equivalent to your credit score, because when we talk about having good credit, it gives us open access to so many things, meaning you're going to get cheaper rates on almost anything. Same thing with your health. When you're in good health, you're going to get better insurance rates. You're going to get better rates all around. You can go different places. You don't have to pay for maybe two seats when you're flying. I mean, there's so many benefits to being able to be in good health and to having your credit score, your credit working really well. Like I said, if you're in good health, there's so much that you can do. But when you're not, there's so many restrictions on you, on your family. I mean, when you start thinking about if you want to travel and take vacation, what kind of support you need, what type of, if you're getting tickets to go just hang out at a show and you have maybe have special seating, or you might not be able to walk, or there's so many things that hold you back when your health isn't where it needs to go. Now granted, there are times when your health is out of your control, but really today what we're talking about is when your health is in your control, but you're choosing to make decisions that impact not only you but impact the health of your family because you're not willing to make those changes. Now my husband loves to eat, and he loves to eat good things that make him feel good on the inside. So leading up to the swollen ankles were a lot of the side eyes, a lot of those conversations you want to have, but how do you have it um, when you don't want to hurt the other person's feelings? And you could also get shamed from your community, from your family, because they're like, "Why would you say something? He's a good man, or she's a good woman. Why are you going to say something about the weight?" But the reality is, talking about weight not in appearance, or it's also about, hey, these foods are killing you. These foods will then kill us. They will have an impact on us. It's not about how well you look or how good you look. It's about, okay, as you know, they've already approved, the FDA has already approved to make lab meat available to us, and we won't know that it's lab meat. These foods that we're consuming, they are designed to make us feel good, to make us continue on, but they're not doing what food should do, which is nourish us, which is tell us when we're full. It is, a lot of the things that have preservatives in them and have, what's some of those,
Additives and stuff.
high fructose corn syrup, your body doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
So it doesn't know how to tell you, hey, I'm full. So then you keep eating thinking that you're still hungry, but it's just because your body does not know how to process it. And when we continue to eat food, if you've ever been on a raw diet or close to a raw diet, you'll notice that your body isn't hungry. You might want it because mentally and emotionally you want it, but you're thinking like, I'm not hungry. But when you're eating foods that have all of these different things in it that we weren't designed to eat, you're always craving. You always want more. And so then when someone is taking it from you or saying something about it, then you get upset, you get irritable. Why? Because you now have an addiction. And we'll shame certain addictions, but when it comes to food addictions and things that we think that are acceptable, we won't say anything when it's still a problem, even if it's a small addiction, whether it's coffee or tea or anything that you always have to have
Yeah.
that is not water, because your body needs water and you
Right.
should always have, you always need that. But I think we got to look at these addictions that we have in our lives that we're making excuses for, getting angry at our spouse, and we can't have simple conversations about health. And just like with your finances, just, that I always say, you have to have the conversation, be on the same page. Are you having the conversation and on the same page about money? I mean, about your health and about what do you want retirement to look like? Do you want to be able to get around and go around and be able to do
Right.
things?
Yeah.
How do you want to spend your life? And are you willing to have those critical conversations? And, you know, put some comments in the section if you're here with us today. Tell us what you think. Are you willing to have that conversation with your significant other that's not around how you look,
Yeah.
but really around the health? Because when we talk about diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, some of the major killers in our community are to a degree controllable.
They are.
I know a lot of people that refuse to take their high blood pressure medicine,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's okay. But are you dieting and exercise? Are you changing how you eat? And if you're not, why? Like, what is the primary reason?
Yeah, I think it's right. I think it's huge. I think the other thing too, you have to be careful not to drink your calories too. I know one of the things I did a lot is I drink a lot of juice. Like I really enjoy juice. And my wife's right. I'm an emotional eater, so I have a very high stress job, and my life is pretty stressful. And so whenever I would get stressful,
Yeah.
I would go not because my family, I would go into the closet and I would just eat a whole pack of cookies. Or I would eat a whole bag of chips, or I would go to McDonald's and I would get four double cheeseburgers. And I could throw them down like nothing. And I think the same principle applies to food that applies to money. A no now will get you to a yes later. What I didn't realize is like people see me now and they go, "Oh my gosh, dude, you lost a lot of weight. You look good." I'm like, "Well, why you telling me I was fat?" Like I'm like, you telling me I was slim, right? And I'm thinking that, right? And I go back and look at pictures when I recently graduated um, with one of my degrees, and we went to Florida, and I thought I looked good back then, And I'm looking at them pictures, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I was straight swole. I was straight swole." And I did not want the pictures because I knew that. But not only do you feel better, like you feel better, you now start thinking about your children. I started thinking about what am I feeding my children if I was eating like that, right? And I watched the habits. They like butter, they like salt, they like sugar, and they're young now, but I don't want to put that on my children. And I see some of my boys, and they see me, they be like JC, and I know a lot of people, and I'm really bad, I'm terrible at really remembering people. Um, like JC, what's up? I'm like, yo, what's up? And I'm just like, they are, bro. When I say they are huge, I mean huge, man. And my wife always gets on me about the dad bod and the stomach. Not get on me because I will tell you this: my wife has always loved me, regardless of what size I was. But I could always tell other when I see other brothers and their stomachs were hanging out, and I'd be like, and you know how your wife give you that look? Like she ain't gonna say nothing, but she had this way of looking at me, right? And I was like, oh, something must be wrong. And I finally started looking at myself like, man, now. I mean, I always used to say to her, "Look, girl, I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna be straight." And she'd be like, "Yeah, I know, baby. But I'm back now, kinda. Now I got to work on the muscular joint, right? But it just feels good to be able to get into your clothes. I used to have big clothes. You know what I'm talking about? I used to big clothes. Yeah, the small clothes. I ain't getting back to them big clothes. Listen, what I'm telling you, I'm not going back. Why am I not going back? I'm close to. I'm getting up there in age right now, bro, and it just ain't that easy to bounce back anymore. So you have to be mindful of what you're eating. You have to be mindful of what you're putting into your system. You got to be mobile. You got at least 30 minutes a day. My wife bought me a Apple Watch, and tracking my sleep, and so all these things are available because why? Because when it comes time to retire, I want to be able to play golf, bro. I want to be able to walk. My kids are 7 and 11. Okay, they don't want to do no sedentary games. They want to run. They want to play catch. They want to do all these crazy things. Now, I have to be careful because one of the ways I hurt myself out here trying to hot dog, on some scooters, right? So, everything in moderation, man. But I think if you want to enjoy your family, and the other thing too is, for as much as my wife loves me and I love her, I want to look good for her. I want to be that. Do you know how you walk out there? You see them cats, they be all buff, walk out there. You know what I'm talking about. I'm like, all right, bro, I'm with you. So you want to carry it right, man. You want to still be attractive to your wife. You want her to be proud of you because she's most definitely my trophy. I want to be a trophy for her too. So.
Thanks, Sonny. I think one of the hardest parts when he says that, I didn't say anything because it's such a tender subject. I know he's eating because he has high stress. So, in my mindset is okay. Let me pray because I need to pray for his stress right now because maybe if his stress goes down, he'll want to. Because I know once he makes that decision, he's going to go full steam ahead. However, he's not interested in making that decision right now. So if I start talking to him about his weight or start talking to. And the thing is, my husband's very tall, and so when you're tall and then you're big, something happened to him. I can't really help. You know what I mean? He fall, he go down. I mean, that's going to be a serious issue just to even be able to mobilize. I mean, there's so many things that can kind of go into his weight gain. And not only that, when you start seeing your family, your friends, and people around you, they're dying. You're going to more funerals now than you're going to weddings and baby births. So it starts, and when you start continuously going to funerals with people that are your age, and folks are just dropping dead, right? And then you're left, one spouse is left holding a bag when it could have been solved maybe with a conversation, maybe with a tough conversation. So when he got the news, I was upset because I had said something before. Now, one of the things, I know he likes certain types of foods, right? So people are like, oh, you don't cook for your husband, so forth and so on. I'm not going to cook the foods that I know are going to kill him. I just saw a couple recently just got married. The husband was plus size, and no shame to anybody that's plus size, anything like that. But he was really a big guy. And as soon as they got married, he dropped dead at the wedding. Like 10 minutes later, I do, and he's gone. And I think sometimes we don't want to put the emphasis on what we want our health to look like because we won't have a conversation. I
Yeah.
mean, we just, as a community, it looks good when you healthy, when you thick. You know what I mean? If you start getting too slim, they start thinking that something's going on with you. So there's a whole cultural stigma attached to it. But having that conversation, and it feels good. I mean, a nice warm, warm body and all that. But however, it's not healthy, and it's not. We keep thinking about what it was back in the day. The foods we are eating today is not yesterday foods.
Yeah.
Sugar today is not the candy we ate when we were kids.
Yeah.
This is a different synthetic brand of everything. Everything we're eating, almost, unless you're growing it in your yard,
Yeah.
is synthetic.
Yeah, I think what you put in your body, you have to be very mindful of what you put in your body. And I think one of the ways I was able to lose the 50 pounds, first of all, you have to have a partner that's supportive and a partner that's encouraging. My wife will say little things to me like, oh, you looking like you look back, 14 years ago. Or, she say little small stuff like that, and it really encourages me. But what I did realize that the doctor can't heal me. The doctor can only tell me what I need to do. I have to do the work. And in that respect, I heard a preacher say one time that healing belongs to God, but our health belongs to us, right? And if I listen to my doctor sent me for 475,000 tests, right? Like she keeps sending me for tests, for tests, for tests. Bottom line is I know what I need to do, right? And so I need to exercise. I know I need to cut down on the salt. I already know that. She ain't gonna tell me that. She told me you're gonna be on this medicine for the rest of your life. No, 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 ma'am. No, ma'am. I certainly will not be. I know if I eat right. So for me, it was really eating the right things. It was really eating things in moderation. Now listen to me. I love to eat. My favorite food is I love cheeseburgers. Listen. I love me some cheeseburgers. I love me some cheesesteaks, and I love wings. I don't think I can't remember the last time I had one. I'm serious. It's been that long. 6 months. I can't tell you. I want one. I still want one. Don't get me wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to have one. Okay. But I'm going to have it at the appropriate time, and I'm going to do it in moderation. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to do it at the right time, and I'm going to exercise like crazy after I do it and like all this other crazy stuff. But it's not that you have to stop everything, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, I'm going, brothers. I am going in on Thanksgiving. Ain't nobody sitting around eating no lettuce sandwich and no air pudding on Thanksgiving. That's not what it's for. But that's what I mean. So you exercise, you do the things you need to do. When those days come around, and even on those days, I ain't gonna feel myself. You know how you do, man. You feel yourself till you get the itis and you fall. Just eat slow, man. You eat small portions, man. You can still have things. I love fries. My kids eat fries. Now instead of eating 4 large fries, I get 2, 3 of them. I get 2, 3 of them. But I'm hovering right at that. I'm just giving you perspective. When I started this problem, I was at 330 pounds. Now I'm tall, so I didn't look like huge, super huge, but and I'm like under 270 now, and I'm going to get down to between 265 and 270, but I'm gonna do it in a way where I can maintain it. I'm telling you that way, and my wife was right. What I never wanted to be was a burden to my family. I realized even when I fell and I broke both my wrists, and my wife was like, "You trying to drive? It ain't no way I'm having my wife try to take care of me. They wouldn't be able to move me." And I'm telling you, I'm gonna give y'all way too much information right now, okay? But when I broke both my wrists and I had to go to the bathroom, I couldn't wipe myself. Yo, that thing was real. My wife had to put deodorant under my underarms for me because I could not use my hands. That's a temporary situation. Now think about people who are relegated to a wheelchair, and it's not that my wife wouldn't take care of me, but why would I want to do that to her if it's avoidable?
Right.
If it's avoidable, and these I'm talking to the men now. I'm talking to the men. We really got to come together, brothers, and really talk about what our health looks like. Look at us, man. We got bellies. And we be trying to, get them shirts that you squeeze it all in. And I think, you know what? I get all that. And we all go through phases, and I was there too. But man, when you think about your family, you think about your kids, you think about wanting to see your kids get married, you think about wanting to walk them down the aisle, you think about wanting to take your wife out on a date. Man, you just want to be in a state, and the Bible is very clear. These bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit. They're not even a house. We have a responsibility to take care of them.
Yeah, that's, so important because I think what you said earlier, you said healing belongs to God, but health belongs to us. And I
Yes.
think that is so key because I think a lot of times we're thinking like the Lord is going to heal me, the Lord's going, but we have a job to do. We still have to participate in this walk, and it's really mental, guys. I'm telling you, when you're thinking about denying yourself, don't think about denying. Just like saving, think about it as an investment. You're investing in your future self. You don't want to be bedridden. You don't want to be in a place where you're not actually mobile or you need someone to take care of you. You ever see those people that are elderly and they're like 70, 80, and they're out there getting it, 90, still looking good, and you're wondering, oh, those are goals, hashtag goals. However, the goal could be now if you start making those changes now, and we don't always want to make the changes because we think what we're giving up, what we're gaining is we don't value what we're gaining. We don't value our life. We're literally, if you calculate how much your earning potential is between now and your retirement or now and your lifespan, you are a multi-million dollar asset. Each and every one of us. I mean, if you kind of even if you go from 35 to $50,000, if that's your price, if that's your range of what you've made. However, if you make more, you're a multi-million dollar asset. And you have to take care of that asset. Same way you would take care of your house, your car, all those things that you make sure is, really working well. It's the same thing. If you have a luxury vehicle, you are not putting regular gas in there because you know it's going to lock up on you. But some reason we value maybe our luxury vehicle or our houses or other things that we have. If you have a certain type of phone, the good chargers versus those cheap ones you might get at the gas station is not going to really charge your phone up. However, you'll get the good charger. You won't let nobody touch that good charger to go on your phone or the good gas to go inside your car. But then we'll just put garbage inside of us and then get mad if somebody says something. It's not just about weight because you could be big and still be healthy. You know what I mean? You can exercise. You have to do the work. Your heart, for instance, heart disease is one of the number one causes of death, particularly in women. Um, and they say you got to get your heart rate up 30 minutes a day. So that means you can't do the lazy walk. You have to actually kind of do more of a speed walk. We have to do things that's going to make sure that we live longer and our quality of life is greater. Like we can be here. There's a lot of things you can live through, but do you want to? Do you want to be here? And again, we're talking about things you can control. I'm not talking about if you have different type of ailments where you can't do this. I'm not talking about that. I don't want anyone to be offended. I'm talking about those of us, including myself and my husband, where we willfully
Right.
eat things or do, that is going to impact our overall health, that will impact marriage, will impact our finances.
Yeah.
Because if he goes down, it's going to be all on me. If I go down, it's all on him.
Yeah. And I was literally eating myself to death. Like I was literally eating myself to death. And I would look at my BMI. I would tell my wife, I would look at my BMI, and it would say I was overweight, and I was fat. Now they want me to get down to 235. Look, ain't nobody gonna be walking around here looking like Mookie. Like I can't get down to 235. Like that's just crazy. Okay,
No offense to Mookie.
no offense to Mookie, but I can get down to 265 maybe. I mean, you look at most athletes, and have been an athlete most of my life. Most athletes are like 250. Like the linebackers, they 250 and they tall and they cut. So I can probably get down to that, but it would take. I'm going to do it in the right way. So I just think it's important again to remember that these are choices, as my wife was saying. We want to control the things that we can control, and I also want to set examples for my children. I want to set examples for my family. I want to see my family. The Bible says gives us what 70 years. I think the Bible promises us. So a lot of people ain't even making that. I was at work and young man had a stroke and he was, I think he was under 40. And, they had to put him on life support and donate his organs. And I'm sitting here thinking, this brother's 40, And so those are the things that we have to be thankful for what God has given us and do what we need to do. And the way we show our appreciation is by taking care of our bodies, by exercise. And you know what? It's hard to do it by yourself. That's why the Bible says two are better than one. That's why your men's fellowship is important. That's why your wife is important. That's why listening to your wife. And my wife's not a nag. I don't take the things that she says to me as being nag. If I'm upsetting in my feelings, I do. But that's because I'm upsetting them in my feelings. But she loves me. She wants to see me well, and I listen to what she's saying. And so now, because I've listened to my wife, she was the first one who said, "You want to get that checked out?" I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. But and then you kind of see your life flash before your eyes. I mean, yesterday, we literally saw a man. We didn't see him get hit, but we saw him after he got hit. He got rolled over by 18-wheeler, oil tanker truck. Those trucks that take gas to the gas stations, and it ran over his head. His head was literally burst, and you saw his brain scattered out. He was laying in the street, and this is what gets me about that. There were people that were very distraught because that's obviously a traumatic sight. That's not something you see every day. But people were just walking by. People kept crossing the street, And one guy, there was a line because he had gotten hit of cars. The guy went around the line and ran over the guy again because he didn't want to wait in the line. I mean, just the desensitization to death like that. I mean, this brother, I saw him an hour ago just walking across the street. Literally, he had one leg. He had a walk in one leg. I saw him like hopping across the street, and then when I came back, he was sitting on the side. And the next thing I know, people were running in saying they ran over him. They ran and we go out. And this brother's head is pretty much taken off. So you just can't take life for granted, man. I'm sure he didn't wake up thinking he was going to get run over by a tanker. So it's just very important, guys, to be thankful for what God has given us. So.
Yeah, and it's a team effort, because if he's trying to do better and then I'm not supporting that, it's not helpful. Or if I'm trying to eat better, but he keep trying to feed me something that is, going to take me off. That's why it's easier when, that somebody said, marry the right person. It's going to be 80% of your happiness or sadness. That's in finances and life. So when you come together, you got to say, how am I supporting him? How am I supporting her? If they're trying to lose weight, are you in that support? Meaning, they might have a weak moment where they want to eat something. Are you saying, go ahead and eat what you want? Or are you saying, no, you can do it? Are you encouraging? You want to be able to encourage your spouse through that time, particularly when you hit a rough patch, because that's what support is about. And that's sometimes hard because you want them to be happy and you want them to have what they want. But you have to look at long term. What does the long term look like? Because, and again, that conversation is often difficult, often challenging. You might say, well, hey, why didn't I make the appointment for him? One, because my husband is a good grown man. And two, he work in healthcare. He can go right downstairs to see anybody he want. So the fact that he's not doing it, he has to want to. I can't make him go to the doctor. He has to want to go. The good thing about him is once they told him something, and it did upset me because, the reason why I was upset is because it was self-inflicted. And even though it was because he was emotional or he was feeling something, I felt that he's the head of the house. He is our, our rock. If you are actively doing something to hurt yourself, you're hurting all of us. And I wanted him to
Right.
take it seriously, but I think in that moment he wanted me to have sympathy.
She wouldn't have none of that. She wouldn't have none of that. And I mean, she bounced back. I mean, she obviously bounced right back. And she did. She apologized and said, I'm sorry, but I was upset. But I'm going to tell you something about this. Marry the right person is 80% of happiness or sadness. Um, I say something, I think it bothers people when I say it. I really hate when people talk negatively about marriage. I hate when people say marriage is hard. Well, breathing is hard, but you don't stop. You know what I mean? I mean, it is hard, but when people say it, it's almost like, and what? And I feel like, I thank God that I married my soulmate. And listen, my wife knows this. I tell her so. I prayed for my wife. I prayed for everything that I wanted. A beautiful. I wanted her. I prayed for all of that. I asked God for that. The Bible says, "You have not because you ask not." And so you pray for those things. And when God gives you that person, it is now your responsibility to take care of what God has given you, which means that you listen to that person, you acknowledge that person. Now, my wife talks a lot about yielding to me, but I have to yield to her. You know where I yielded to her? Finally, in money. In money. Why? Because that was her gift. The one thing about my wife and I that you'll find about us, and I don't care what nobody think they know about us, is that my wife and I fill each other's gaps. There are things that my wife is awesome at and things that I'm not so awesome at. There's things that my wife is not so awesome at that I'm awesome at. And we enjoy those things. And they're not traditional things. People may say, so I'm the fake chef in the house. Like I'm the chef, right? Like I'm the fake chef. Okay. Now my wife can really, really cook. Okay. But that's not something she really wants to do. And then when we got to have big events, it's like, oh, my wife, listen, throw down and I yield, I back up. But the day to day, taking care of the kids, feeding them, all that. I love doing. I love feeding. I love eating. I love feeding my family. I love going to the market. My wife hates going to the market. Like I love going to the market. I go to the market 5 times a week, 6 times, 7 times. I'm in the market. Like I just like to go. Okay. And it's just so if that's the thing, right? People say, well, when you come home, how come your wife? Because I like to cook. Okay. So I think marrying the right person and understanding what was the right person means. You compliment each other, bruh. You compliment each other, man. My wife is my glory, bruh. She is my glory. Listen, whenever we got to go up, my wife is always the finest woman in the room. She's always the most beautiful woman in the room. I don't care where we at. I don't care where we go. My wife is always the finest woman in the room. And I always tell her that and I always let her know that. So I just think that you have to marry the right person, but also you have to acknowledge that the gifts and the talents and the support that the other person gives you and call those things out, man. Call them out.
And it doesn't always happen in the beginning. So in the beginning, he was Superman. He was like, I'm gonna do it all. And I was like, knock yourself out and
Right.
let me know when you need me. So he was mad, frustrated that he was out here doing it all because that's what he chose. And the thing is, I think you guys, I had already, I had an adult daughter by the time we were married. She was 18. So I had already done all the cooking and cleaning, and I was not interested. If you don't want to do the, sharing of responsibilities, I'm not going to make you. So in the beginning, he was wearing himself out
I was.
until
I
and
was.
he was like, "Help me? You don't help me." Sticking his chest out. I was like, "Okay, well,
I wasn't doing all that neck shaking. I don't know where that came from. I don't shake no neck. You talking about neck shaking? Yeah, I ain't doing all
sticking
that.
the chest out. You sticking that chest out,
My chest is out naturally because I'm buff. You know what I mean? So that's a natural joint right there.
beating his chest. I'm Superman. I do it all." And I was like, "Okay, have
That's
fun, have
natural.
fun with that. Let me know how it work out." And I think when he got tired, sick and tired of being sick and tired. So where we are today, I don't want you to think like, oh yeah, we walked into bliss and it was like, oh, it was right person. It was, we knew we were the right for each other, and it took some time. It was like a lot of this. And eventually it synergized. I think people, a lot of times you don't wait for the synergy. You give up before synergy happens because there's conflict. When you good and grown, and you live some good grown lives and you come together, that does not happen overnight where it just flow together.
Yeah.
When you bring two oceans together, you're gonna have some rough tides. And
Mhm.
then as you keep working towards, so that work is like you recognize that person is the person. And you recognize they have some things that you really just don't like. And you're like, okay, well, can it get better? What's possible? And I would pray for what I saw because I would see where we were supposed to be. So I think when we were in the beginning years, I'm just like, I saw us in a better place. I don't know why we still here. In my mind, I'm like, it's been a minute. Why we still ain't make that turn? And you just keep praying, praying, fasting, and you start praying for what you want to see and not
Mhm.
giving up on the person. That's why I said if one person is fighting, you'll get there. I think when both people stop fighting, or when both people are like, oh, it's just not what I want, or you start
Right.
looking at what you see on TV, or hashtag relationship goals. You can get to hashtag relationship goals if you kind of stick it out,
Yeah. My
because
wife knows I'm not a reality TV person. I you know um it ain't reality. They should call it non-reality TV, But I do what the world wants you to believe about marriage and what God teaches us about marriage are really two completely separate things. The Bible teaches us that marriage is forever. Now, don't get me wrong. If somebody abusing you or somebody beating you, somebody mistreating you, that's something completely different. And everybody has their what honey, what do we call them? Somebody has their uh, if this happens,
deal breaker. But I
yeah,
don't
it,
people talk about deal breakers. Like, what's your deal breaker? I think you have to say that up front. And if you have not said it, because some people say there is no deal breaker, we're gonna be in this forever. But
yeah,
then you need to
you're right.
stand behind that. But I think in the beginning, if you have that conversation, some of these divorces wouldn't happen
Yeah,
because
yeah,
my deal breaker is if you put your hands on me. Like I'm not into being nobody's punching bag. His
yeah.
deal breaker is if I cheat on him.
No
So
cheat, no cheat.
so he can't move past that, and I can't move past getting a black eye. Like,
And you know what? Those are things that we have no intention of going. We have no intention of going there anyway, right? So I just think for marriages when you're together, I want to tell you that listen to me clearly. If you're thinking about divorce and if you're thinking about, listen to me when I tell you what you think is out there ain't out there. Let me tell you, and what's out there is probably not better than what you have right now. What you have right now. Do you know that when you plant a seed, you have to plant it in dirt? It has to be in darkness first.
mm,
And you have to water that thing, you have to nurture that thing, and it has to. And it's, the Bible says one man plants, another man waters, but it's God who gives the increase. And the Bible also says that promotion doesn't come from the east or the west. Promotion comes from above. And when I say promotion, people think about job title. No, no, I'm talking about promotion also as it related to your marriage growing and going to the next level. God's not going to give you more until you take care of what God has given you. My wife used to say this to me all the time. You have to understand when you're treating me, you're talking to God's daughter. She is God's daughter,
right.
and God expects me to treat her a certain way. In fact, the Bible tells us that I'm supposed to be willing to die for her, and I am. I absolutely am. So I think that, once we get all these basics down, the understanding is forever. That's why this is a circle. Forever means forever. We have had the conversation about what our deal breakers are. She told you what those are. So, but, and we try to be transparent because we want to help somebody. But I cannot imagine life and don't want to imagine life without, I call her my girlfriend. She's still my girlfriend. Without my girlfriend, we went out on date night last night. Had a good time too, didn't we, baby? We was in there, listen to the jazz. You out there getting, But you just got to do things that work for you. This TV nonsense and what you listen. The world is twisted, man. And stop trying to be like the Joneses. The Joneses faking too. They faking. They faking. Everybody got problems. Everybody got issues. The Bible talks about how you work together, and we have our foundation in Scripture. We have the Lord as our foundation, and we work through those. And we got kids. Maybe one day we're going to talk about this co-parenting that everybody think they're doing, what that really, really, really means. The reason that I don't want to break my wife's heart is because I don't want to break her heart. I don't want to break my kids' heart. I don't want to break God's heart. You know what I'm saying? So anyway,
Yeah, and I think having that confidence in knowing that I know that if he does something to me, he knows he's doing it to God. Like he's sinning against God. So
yeah,
some things I don't even think about. I don't even think about separation,
yeah,
honestly. And I think that was one of those earlier conversations. It's just something that doesn't cross my mind. So where he would be thinking that, oh, you know, something might happen. I was one step in or one step out. I don't even think about it. Like once I'm committed and I'm in, and I'm moving forward. However, let's talk about disability insurance, because I do want to get onto some
Mm.
finances here. Okay, so again, this goes back to being healthy. When you're healthy, it's easier to get better insurance, right? It's better. It's just easier. It's easier. So a lot of times we don't want to think about this, but if you look into your husband, your spouses, let me say that your spouses, because it go either way. Your spouse's bloodline, or their family. Like, what are you seeing a lot of? Do you see a lot of certain conditions, and he might, he or she might have them? It just might make sense. And a lot of times when we're um, highly spiritual. Again, we talk about, God healing us, but however, health belongs to us. So if we see things, we don't want to ignore things. And we just, if you can be prepared, doing it earlier in your relationship when you're healthy is better, because anything could happen. And there's a lot of times, again, what we're consuming and what we're eating, we really can't control if, um, if you're buying foods. If you're not growing your own food, you're really at the mercy of whatever they're selling, right? Or if you're not going to farms to kind of get your food. So you want to think about disability insurance, because disability insurance will help you in an event that something happens. And it might be a short term event, it might be a long term event, but it can get you as much as $20,000 a month. It's like getting a paycheck. So I would just encourage you to go look into disability insurance for you and your spouse. I would also encourage you to look at life insurance a little bit deeper. You might have insurance through your job. You might remember what I told you before. Life insurance through your job does not follow you. So once you leave that job, it's gone. And then if that's your only life insurance that you have, you got to think about the age that you leave that job. And now you have to try to get some insurance elsewhere. So you always want to have insurance outside. The younger, the better. If you can't afford whole, you get term. Term will cover you, and once you get to a certain point, you could turn it over to whole. And if you get it while you're younger, when you turn over to whole, you really don't have to worry about, you already qualified, so you don't have to worry about what your health is. So you really trying to build this wealth plan for your family. You have to say to each other, what is the plan? Like, what do you want to be? Where do you want? How do you want this to work out for you all long term? What do you want it to look like? Because that will help you to make better decisions in the future of saying, okay, we need to have whole life. Whole life has so many benefits, particularly if you get whole life that pay dividends. So whole life that pay dividends, you're always going, that does not expire. It's your money. There's so many perks and benefits to it. You can build your own bank. That means when you want to borrow, you can borrow against yourself. It does not show up on credit scores, etc. So you can get whole life for your kids if you're like, hey, I'm too old or I'm past that point. That way, when they want to borrow money from you, they borrow money from themselves. You put that whole life policy on them. It continues to grow. You get it while it's cheap. When they need something for the down payment on their house, they need
Hmm.
something for school, things
Yeah.
like that, they can borrow from themselves, and they don't have to borrow from you, and you don't have to go into credit. Insurance, there's so many different options for insurance. I would stay away from people that, and this is no shade to people that sell insurance, that only work for one company. You want to get an insurance broker that works, that can get you any type of insurance, that their desire is what you need. So that's why I said you have to know before you go. What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want your family legacy to be? What do you want to have set up? Because if you don't have those conversations, guess what? You can't move forward. And then you go to someone and someone sells you something, and they sell you something that isn't the best product because you didn't know what you wanted before you went there. Like when my husband signed up for life insurance, it was because he felt like I was trying to kill him. So he signed up for some terrible life
Yeah.
insurance, terrible. But if he would have trusted me then, luckily he trusts me now. Those conversations. So we're trying to help you if you got pride, if you got all these things that's in your marriage that is impacting you from making good decisions for your future. Because getting him health insurance later, it's more expensive than it was when the first question was asked, when he was still trying to protect themselves. And I get it. When you're newly married, you still, and particularly if you're older, meaning you have stuff and you got to protect yourself. Younger, you might not have all these hangups. Um, And if you marry somebody that does not align with your goals, morals, and values, you shouldn't. Shouldn't marry someone unequally yoked. But if you do, you definitely need a prenup because you're marrying someone that isn't aligned. You're not in alignment, and anything can happen. So when you're not in alignment and you still want to do it because you want to do it, you should have a prenup because you want to protect your assets. And not that we're fans of prenup or anything like that, but if you're not aligned, if you're not equally yoked, but you still want to walk down that aisle, you want to get that prenup while you're still on good terms. The reason why you can weather the storm with someone is because you're like, I know he's walking with the Lord. So even if the walk, even if we're not on the same page, we will get there because we are still in alignment. So if you're not in alignment, really think about having a prenup. But I want to just talk to you about your health, your life insurance, your will,
Yep.
your living will.
Living with.
Your spouse might be the person, hopefully the person. I've heard marriages where they say my spouse isn't my next to contact.
Wow.
So they say their parent is because they don't trust their spouse's decision. So, and that could just be because your spouse can't handle it. And if that's the case, you got to think about who's going to be the person. Who's your person? You go down, even if you are in a marriage. And if your spouse is the person, you need to tell your spouse what you want because else your spouse is going to do what they think is best. Like, let's say you're having a baby and there's a decision that needs to be made: save the baby or save you. Does your spouse know what to do in that particular situation? Because your spouse likely going to say, "We can always get another baby, but I can't get another you." But you would say, "You save the baby." So you have to kind of know, y'all have to be on the same page and have that decision, have that conversation. Because if you don't, a decision might be made on your behalf that you definitely didn't want. I remember when we had our youngest and she was going to just cut me open, brought the baby out. She was having some distress. They were taking her to the ICU. And he said, "Do I stay with you or go with the baby?" I'm like, "Go with the baby."
Oh, it's like this.
So, but I was awake. And when you're not awake, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. He's told you before when he broke both his wrists, both his and bust his kneecap, and he still was thinking that he was going to be able to do any and everything. That was a scary moment for me because it's like you're going to go out here, you don't trust me to drive you around, make sure that you're good to go. He's like, no, just go with me. I'm gonna prove to you that I can do this. But what he needed to do was rest what he needed to do. And thankfully, God covered him, but his wrist ain't where it used to be. And had he did the rest,
Yeah.
had he listened to
Yeah.
his wisdom, but he had to get back out there. And he says he's an introvert. Sir, you're not an introvert. You have to be out and about and be with the people. And if he would have stayed home, rested up, that wrist might have healed perfectly.
Yeah. It's never going to be the same. That's unfortunate, but it is.
Okay.
It
We,
is.
we can speak healing in the
Yeah.
name of.
Bad, but yeah.
So, thank you for joining us today. And we just wanted to come on today and kind of really just talk to you about having that health conversation. If you're looking at your spouse and the spouse looking at you, and you know that some changes need to be made, but you don't want to have a conversation, uh, you know, show this to them, show this recap, and just know that if you do it together, it's always better. But if you do it apart, still support the other person and push the other person to make those better changes. Don't do any shaming, any body shaming, any weight shaming, but support the person so that that person can get healthy and get off of medication because the industry is designed to keep you medicated. It's not designed to heal you. So don't think, okay, I can eat what I want to eat and I'll just take this medication because you know what happens. Then the medication has a side effect, and now you need a medication for your side effect. And before you know it, you got this, long laundry list of pills that you have to take. So do what you need to do to get to where you need to get to. And if you need help, again, I'm not a health coach, but I'm a financial coach. But if you need help, get a trainer, get a nutritionist, get the help that you need so that you can do better. It's hard to do it on your own, and you might not have the tools within your house to be able to make the right decisions. But we
Yep.
see, my what is it, 600 pound life or 600. We see what happens when we don't make good decisions. So, and as you get older, them 10 pounds they creep up, and before you know it, you up 100, you up 150, you up 200, and weight loss surgery doesn't always work. And when it does work, sometimes it leaves you with so many side effects. So there is no quick fix to this sometimes. Sometimes we just got to do slow and steady wins the race. Remember that. Just keep trying, keep moving forward, and begin with the end in mind. What do you want your life to be like? Envision it, write it out, write the vision and make it plain, and then make steps towards to get that. Because as long as you're healthy, you can continue to be wealthy. But when your health starts to fail, it's harder to do certain things and it's harder to make money unless you're making passive money. So, any last words, honey?
You look amazing today. I tell you, you look amazing. I love you. You're wonderful. You're awesome. And I would marry you all over again if I had the opportunity to do it. How about
Thank
that?
you. I appreciate it. I would marry you all over again as well.
Yay.
Have a great day, guys. We thank you for
Great day.
us. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you
Cheers.
need financial coaching, I'm your girl. I'm the money magnet, and book a discovery session. I'm here for you, and I want you to be great. Talk to you soon.